Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Planes, Trains, and Comic Books channel. My name's Matt, and today we're going to review Nottingham Death and Taxes. But before we get into that, if you guys wouldn't mind sharing, subscribing, commenting, it really helps me out and lets me know what you guys want to see more of. So, with that being said, let's get straight into it. All right, we got the cover here for Nottingham Volume 1, Death and Taxes. It is a Mad Cave comic, and it is by Hazan, Volk, Romano, and Gill. And we start off on the first page with a man killing a tax collector. And the man who's doing it is wearing a very creepy, smiling mask. And of course, this being Nottingham, we are assuming that this is in fact Robin Hood. So after the murder has been committed, of course, the local law comes in to try to figure out who killed this tax collector. And that lawman is the Sheriff of Nottingham. And as he looks over the crime scene, he notices something interesting. There is red hair that was left on the victim's clothing. So, of course, as you do, he instructs his men to find every redheaded person in the town and brutally interrogate them. It takes a while to find someone who might have information. So they arrest that redheaded man and they keep him in the tower for further questioning. But then that night, someone wearing one of those creepy masks comes in to the cell room and kills the redheaded man before he can give up any more information on Robin Hood. And in the morning, when the sheriff finds this man dead, he is very angry and suspicious because he had guards posted, but there was no one there to stop this murderer. And also, there were no marks on the door or any sign of break-in. So that means that he used a key to get in. So the sheriff and his right-hand man begin to question the guards of that night. And eventually, we find one of them who confesses to not being on duty because he was getting drunk and leaving his post to meet with prostitutes. And hearing this, the sheriff gets very angry and tells the man to confess. And the guard does that and tells the sheriff who was working with Robin Hood. And that's where I'm going to stop it. I don't want to spoil anything else. So Nottingham is a book that I've heard people talk about for the last year or so. Everybody said it was really, really good. I was hesitant, though, because I'm not the biggest fan of Robin Hood, the story in general. It's been done a lot. People have remade it in movies and TV, and I just didn't think anything new could really be brought to it. But I was very wrong about that. This book was very fresh, and I feel that it actually helps if you already know the story and you're familiar with the lore, because it's familiar enough that you think you know what's going to happen, and then the writers kind of throw in a twist or flesh out characters in a way that they haven't been fleshed out before, and that really gives some cool new depth to the story and characters. The story of this first trade is basically a murder investigation or detective story where the Sheriff of Nottingham isn't necessarily a good guy or a bad guy. He's just a cop doing his job, trying to find out who this killer is. The art is really good in this book. It definitely has its own style, but I feel like it kind of sets it apart. Like for me personally, when I saw the cover of the trade, I was instantly drawn in by the creepy smile that the merry men wear on their masks. And the way that the artist draws the figure of the sheriff is great because he's still like a dark and imposing figure. He's not supposed to be a good or bad guy necessarily. And I feel like the artist really gave him a lot of emotion in his facial expressions, which really adds layers to his character. So overall, I think this was a really fun read. It was a really solid comic. And now I kind of understand why everybody was talking about it, because this is not that old. It's only on issue 9, I believe, in the comics. And this is the first 5 issues in this trade. So you might even be able to find the issues on the stands if you care about collecting the issues individually. But for sure, you can get this trade at any comic book store or other online retailers. So I'm going to give this book a 4.5 out of 5. I really, really liked this book. I thought it did a really good job of turning an old story that's kind of been played out a lot and gave it new life with its fresh take on the characters. So if you saw anything you like, definitely go pick that up at your local comic book store, and we will see you all in the next one.